Elaine hummed as she walked towards the design room. A song from the DREAMZ debut album played on loop in her head. She didn't mind. She liked the song, and it would help her focus on the final fittings for Sol and Minsol. Elaine pushed the door to the design room open with her foot, carefully moving her work bag and binder to one arm. She reached for the light switch, pausing when she realized the light was already on. That's odd. I'm sure Syl definitely would have turned these off as she left. Elaine walked around the row of mannequins, discovering Sylvia asleep at her workstation. Aha! No wonder the lights were still on, Elaine chuckled. She placed a warm hand on Sylvia's shoulder, gently waking her. Hey, Syl, you need to eat some breakfast. Sylvia sat up, her hair flattened on one side from sleeping. She looked at Elaine with wide eyes, her ears turning red. What? Breakfast? What time is it? Elaine stepped back as Sylvia bolted up from her chair, searching her desk for her phone. Syl, don't stress. Every creative has pulled an all-nighter, at least once. Come on, let's get you fed. No one can think on an empty stomach. Elaine grabbed the bottom hem of her shirt, practically dragging her towards the cafeteria. Elaine smiled as Sylvia fluffed her hair back up. She wasn't too much younger than her, but she reminded Elaine of her younger self. I'm so sorry, Sylvia started. Don't worry about it. You should have seen me during my fashion design courses in London. There was one week when I had this design assignment. We had to make a dress. A floor-length dress out of plaid. But it wasn't all the same plaid. Oh no! We had to use 3 different plaid fabrics, matching up all the lines. I'm pretty sure I survived on caffeine alone. I got the dress done, but I fell asleep during presentations. Elaine noticed the red fade from Sylvia's ears. She was happy to see she could help her feel more comfortable. So, Elaine asked, did you get all your work done? Sylvia nodded. I had just finished the last hem. I sat down so I could quickly tidy up my desk before I left. I must have been so tired, I didn't even feel myself fall asleep. Elaine patted Sylvia's shoulder. It doesn't matter then. Elaine walked through the cafeteria with Sylvia to pick out their breakfast. They agreed it would be better to start work as soon as possible, and grabbed some wrapped buns so they could eat while they walked back to the design room. They continued to talk, swapping stories about late nights and pressing design deadlines. Elaine enjoyed talking with Sylvia. You know, Elaine spoke, discarding her wrapper in a nearby trash can, I hope we continue to work together for a while to come. I hope so too, Sylvia beamed. The building had already started to fill up with staff, the sounds of phones and typing echoing from different rooms. Elaine knew the DREAMZ members would arrive soon. Sylvia began clearing her desk, scrambling to put away all of her sewing supplies. I'll give you a hand, Elaine said cheerily. She could tell Sylvia was stressed and would not take no for an answer. Elaine began putting supplies away, the debut song creeping back into her mind. She couldn't resist humming the catchy tune. Soon, she realized Sylvia was humming along with her, and they began to dance as they put things away. This song is downright contagious, Elaine said, placing the last pair of shears in the drawer. I know what you mean. This song has been stuck in my head all week, Sylvia answered. The room is ready, Elaine cheered, giving Sylvia a high five. Their timing couldn't have been more perfect as Alexei and Minsol entered the room. The young men grinned as they saw the last stage outfits with work to be done on mannequins, while the finished ones hung from hooks on the wall. Let's get fitting, Sylvia smiled. Saori rubbed her eyes, which felt like they were full of sand. An alarm on her watch buzzed as she carefully stacked ceramic plates into a box. She growled at her watch, trying to place the plates. She swiped the alarm away, stretching her stiff shoulders. She looked around her apartment, the walls now bare. Even after spending the night packing, she had a significant amount of work to do. Tears of frustration stung her eyes, but she forced the feeling down. She had too much to do today to be caught up in her emotions. Saori swiped her bag off the bed, snatching her phone and a meal bar on her way out the door. She crept down the stairs to avoid the building manager, who preferred to ride the elevator. One more reminder about moving out today, and Saori was likely to scream. Saori paused at the last step to catch her breath before bolting through the doors and past the front office. The crisp January air stole her breath away as she rushed through the exterior doors. Saori gasped as she pulled her overcoat closed. The smells from nearby cafes taunted her stomach, and she clenched her jaw, knowing she couldn't afford to purchase a hot meal. Saori quickly descended the steps into the subway station, skipping every other step to reach the train faster. She whipped out her public transit pass from her bag, instinctively scanning it before stepping through the terminal. She could hear the gentle sound of moving feet from people walking around as she returned her pass to her bag. The automated voices became white noise as she briskly walked to the terminal, arriving just as the train quietly pulled in. She quickly stepped onto the train and carefully selected where she would stand. The smell of a steamed bun from a man standing nearby taunted her. Saori's stomach begged her for food, but she ignored the pangs. She had never felt comfortable eating in public. She promised herself the meal bar tucked in her bag as soon as she exited the subway. The street's bustle helped Saori focus her thoughts, which kept circling around the uncertainty of her new apartment. She was just shy of the deposit fee and would probably have to use her credit to cover the rest of the cost. Her stomach rumbled once more, protesting at the prolonged wait for food. She carefully unwrapped the top of her meal bar, avoiding any stickiness. Once she had her new apartment, Saori wanted to splurge on some better breakfast foods. She turned, looked up at the company building, and silently prayed for the day to pass by quickly. She swiftly navigated through the hallways, approaching the design room. Alexei and Minsaw chatted as they left the design room. Saori lifted her hand to wave when their conversation caught her ear. "Sylvia did a great job on that outfit," Minsaw exclaimed, his eyes sparkling at his chuckling young. Saori felt something snap. Her hand dropped. "Sylvia did a great job on that outfit?" she thought. "The outfit I spent 3 weeks pouring every ounce of energy into? The outfit I stayed awake all night working on revisions for? The outfit I had to submit for evaluation 4 times before it was approved?" Saori entered the design room, her heart choking on rage. Elaine held up the outfit, clearly admiring it with a bright smile, as she spoke to Sylvia, who was cleaning up, her face tinged pink. Sylvia flicked her hair over her shoulder. "I'm glad I could help." Sylvia's comment didn't even reach Saori as she acted thoughtlessly. She snatched the nearest pair of fabric shears, reaching up and cut off a piece of Sylvia's hair. Maybe that would teach her a lesson. The next thing Saori registered was being dragged out of the room by the wrist, then hearing Sojun quietly shout, "What the heck was that, cuz?" Saori stood against the wall, confused, as her younger cousin Sojun stared at her in disbelief, and fear turned to anger. Saori opened her mouth, but words failed her as the memories finally came back to her. "What got into me?" Saori finally exclaimed as her emotions flooded over her. "I want to know too," Sojun said softly, watching her shake and struggle with her emotions. Just then, Mr. Junwon appeared. He looked from Sojun to Saori as she trembled. Elaine then walked out of the design room, clearly looking for someone. Elaine turned and found Saori, then asked as calmly as possible, "Saori, what's gotten into you? I've never seen you lose control like that. I mean, you cut Sylvia's hair." Mr. Junwon then stepped forward and said, "Clearly something has happened, and Saori is visibly emotional. I will need an explanation. Elaine, you obviously saw what happened. Come with me so we can discuss this matter. Sojun, please take Saori into the room across the hall. I'll come talk with her shortly. Mr. Junwon and Elaine walked into the designer room, shutting the door behind them. Of course, sir, Sojun said as he wrapped an arm around Saori. She was still shaking. As soon as the door shut, he turned to address his cousin. Saori, tell me, what happened? He gently guided her to an empty conference room, closing the door behind them to give her some privacy. Saori choked on her words through heavy tears. I don't know. I heard Minso say Sylvia did a great job, and then they were just there, and Saori lost the last bit of control as she sank into her sobs, her hands shamefully covering her face as she fell to the floor. Sojun placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, even though he felt completely bewildered by the situation. The Saori he knew would never act like this. She had always been more emotional, but never impulsive. Something had to have happened to set her off. Saori's body shook with each sob. What have I done? This is it. And it's my own doing. I'm gonna be fired. With this reputation, I'll be lucky if I can work in a cafe. Sojun carefully helped her stand up, just long enough to help her into a nearby chair. Sojun patted her shoulder and tried to think of some way to comfort her. They sat in silence for a few minutes as Sojun gently massaged Saori's shoulders, since it was something she always enjoyed. Saori breathed to the rhythm of Sojun's fingers. Once she was calmer, Sojun let go of her shoulders and sat in a chair beside her. Mr. Junwon knocked on the conference room door and walked into the room, rubbing his head. Saori's panic started to rise as she expected him to fire her. She sat up in her chair, wringing her hands with worry. Mr. Junwon sat in a chair across from the two of them, a slight frown across his face. The tension in Saori's heart threatened to overtake her. Mr. Junwon cleared his throat. Saori's heart drummed with anxiety. Mr. Junwon raised a hand to keep her from speaking. Sylvia and Elaine both explained the situation to me in precise detail. Saori felt her stomach sink, her body going cold from the stress. This job was everything to her, and she just threw it away. Mr. Junwon took in a deep breath. I'm glad to hear your actions were in service of a coworker. Saori blinked slowly, trying to understand what he was saying. He continued, As I'm sure you know, cutting a coworker's hair without consent would be a punishable matter. Seeing as Sylvia asked you to do it for her, there will be no actions taken. Though the timing of your two's spontaneous salon could have been better. I trust you will be taking care of such things outside of work hours from now on. Saori was stunned. She couldn't believe her ears. With the break in conversation, Sojun took the opportunity to ask the questions on everyone's mind. Saori, are you okay? You have been so stressed lately. If you don't mind me asking, I would like to know what has been upsetting you so much lately. You've been distant and quiet. Mr. Junwon nodded, quietly encouraging her to answer. Saori looked at the table, quickly collecting her thoughts. I'm losing my apartment today. I haven't finished packing, and I have nowhere to go. The two men stared at her in shock. Sojun groaned and pinched the bridge of his nose. Your family! Why didn't you say anything? Saori swallowed hard. Everyone else is so busy, and I thought I could handle it on my own. With the deadlines, I haven't had adequate time to find a new apartment. I'm sorry. Sojun cut her off. Don't apologize. You've been working hard to make sure our group debuts without a problem. I'm disappointed in myself for not asking any sooner. Mr. Junwon stood. I will find you housing by the end of the workday. We will delay your promotion a few weeks so you can get settled before taking on any new stress here at work. Saori could hardly believe the pouring out of support and care that had been shown to her in the last hour. And although her future housing was still uncertain, she felt like she could handle it now.